Howdy, my name is Roger. I love my country, my truck, and Power Platform best practices. If you're serious about becoming a Power Platform solutions architect, join the Architects Accelerator. Now enough of my fake Southern accent, and let's hear from an actual participant of the program, Anna Black.
Hi, I'm Anna Black. I'm the creator of Power Platform Cookbook. I joined the Architects Accelerator because I saw a post from Magdalena and she was so positive and inspired me to join and see what it's all about. Before joining the accelerator, I was avoiding AI. And then when I saw how to apply AI and practice like soft skills, and it just like it really opened my mind to try different things for myself with different tools and everything. It really helps you to evaluate what you know and what you don't know, because when you are doing your job for like so many years, you might be missing a trick and like a different approach. So it really helped me to look at the problems from a different angle. And it was really great to meet with people and be like a part of another community and exchange ideas and so on. So yeah, lots of benefits that did change my life. So thank you.
The link is in the show notes, or go to untethered365.com to learn more.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the Sprint Zero podcast. My name is John Russell, and I'm here with my co-partner rat in crime, John Russell. Say hello, John.
Oh, God's sake. Amazing. Hi, Mike. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you? I am Mike Garland, by the way. I've not changed my name at all. Our guest today is Dani Kahil, a Microsoft MVP with over 15 years experience as a functional consultant and solution architect on Dynamics and Power Platform projects across various industries and continents. Dani is dedicated to helping individuals and organizations achieve a shared understanding of requirements and translating them into effective, simple solutions. His expertise in fostering collaboration and communication within projects has been instrumental in overcoming common challenges like miscommunication and lack of user adoption. Dani, welcome to the podcast. How are you doing today?
Thank you. What a lovely and great introduction. I couldn't do it better myself. Thank you.
ChatGPT's pretty good, isn't it?
Oh,
Hey.
okay. Yeah, pretty good
Hey.
then.
Oh, sorry. John GPT's pretty good.
There you go. That's better.
Yeah, that's
So, Dani, can you give us a bit of insight into your career journey and how you've got to where you are today?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I ended up kind of by accident a bit thrown away into the Microsoft BizApps world. I think I got lucky, to be fair. Like, I started with a partner straight after uni, and the partner was doing all kind of consulting for CRM, BI stuff, and they had a very small practice for what was called at that time Microsoft Dynamics CRM. And it was really a very small practice because all the other tools like Oracle was the big CRM, SAP was there, I think Siebel there was all these big products, and I was thrown away with the kind of this small Microsoft CRM thing. I'm not sure I was super happy at the beginning because I thought my career would have evolved better with other tools. But as the time grew and I kind of was assigned to a project, I kind of started liking the tool, especially how you can kind of customize things that easily. And we were using it for XRM kind of project.
So I was going to ask about that. You mentioned Dynamics CRM. So were you working on it when it was CRM and then it became XRM?
No,
that's where you.
No, it was true. It was called XRM in kind of the general. It was not an official name, but between expert, we were calling it like the XRM Dynamics XRM or project around XRM. So everything relationship management. So we were already using Dynamics CRM, which was Dynamics CRM 4 at that time, to build custom solutions effectively, right? Unfortunately, client had to pay the full license at that time, but we were heavily extending, and sometimes we were using a very small part of sales, but the bigger picture, the bigger application was all the custom entities that we were building, right? So very quickly, I could see kind of at the young age, the potential, I guess, from the tool, and it started growing pretty fast as well. Like from CRM 4, then we had, I think, CRM 2011, 2015, the practice started growing at that partner. We had more and more projects coming in. I was starting to be a lead, kind of an expert in my company. And look, it was just an accident. Like I got thrown away in that technology and then I stayed with it. I had some good projects. I had the chance to travel a bit around. So I'm half Polish, half Lebanese. I grew up in Africa and effectively was working in Belgium at that time. And we had an opportunity to travel and work back in Congo, where I was born. You know, we were without kids at that time, young with my wife. She wanted to travel a bit more. So we kind of decided to go back to, or for her, it was new for me to go back to Congo. So I did a few projects there. Interesting project, actually, I did with Dynamics CRM for a few of the banks, for some NGOs there as well, using Dynamics CRM. I think Dynamics CRM 4, it was still at that time or something like that. So yeah, so really lucky. Look, I think we are like because we were thrown or grew up in that world, we got lucky to have kind of a lot of opportunities all over the world. And to be fair, even today, if you want to just travel and visit a country, there is probably a good chance you can be recruited by a partner or an end client doing Dynamics or Power Platform work, right? So it's not like it changed a lot. So yeah, that's how my career evolved. So I really stayed in the technology for all this time. You know, went through the steps in my career, like from I did a little bit of development at the beginning, but then quickly was functional consultant, a functional lead on projects, and then solution architecture and kind of those roles. Now it's a bit of a blur, I guess, from sometimes. Sometimes I'm doing a bit of PM work, solution architecture work, BA work. So yeah.
How much, Danny, how much do you think real world experience you need in, say, Dynamics or Power Platform as a functional consultant before you can really think about becoming a solution architect?
I think you need to go probably through a few difficult and challenging projects. I think you have to see a few of those and kind of where the scars of those projects were, not only technically, but from a kind of a people management, political, like how the whole enterprise world work. You have to go through this because you cannot learn it. Like you can learn technical stuff and you can be an excellent technical person. It also requires a bit of time and training and going through this, but you know, really working on the ground with end clients, with different kind of people, different architect, different enterprise, kind of a landscape and different system. I think it requires, I would say 10 years. I would say 10
Right.
years to be a good architect. Yeah, that would
And
be my feel.
do you think that, because I've always said like the essential skills, like, you know, client engagement, client rapport, all of those kind of things are probably slightly more important than the technical skills, and the technical skills can be learnt. Do you think you can learn essential skills, or do you think it's like nature or nurture?
Yeah, I think they are a little bit harder to learn, but I would definitely think that you can learn them. They are probably a bit less easy because technical skills you kind of read and then practice a bit on your own, and I guess you kind of you can learn them. With the non-technical social skills, it's kind of going back to your roots, to your beliefs, to how you react, to what you feel comfortable with, not comfortable with. Are you smiling? Not? Are you a person
Yeah.
that cannot be stressed too much? Like all this plays a bit of a role. I think it just requires a bit of time, requires a bit for you to be across some of those people. I had the chance to work across very like great mentors or great kind of people I could follow, and especially young in my career. And I can actually look now and just hope that I wish I became almost like them or close to what they had. But they had those, those, as you said, those people skills, presentation skills, smiling at ease, being able to articulate what you think, so that people understand. Like those, yeah, it requires times, I think, experience to get these. Some get them natively very early on, though. So don't get me wrong. Some people get very skilled very early on, and they have those. I mean, I've seen a few good sellers in their young, especially sellers, right? They're good at that, selling things. I've came across a very good sellers that can really articulate and present well and so forth. And I always thought good sellers might be actually excellent consultants, to be fair, excellent functional consultants as well. But yeah, sorry, I went around a bit.
No, that's fine. And I really appreciate you on the podcast, because I think you were pretty instrumental in fostering my real love for agile methodology.
Oh, thank you. I
I've
didn't know
done
that.
your course, and it's an excellent course, and we'll put the link to that in the show notes.
Thank you.
Do you how do you ensure that stakeholders, and by that I mean everyone from CIO down to subject matter expert, where you sometimes are getting, the people on the ground are giving you those golden nuggets of information. How do you get them on a page where there's a shared understanding of requirements in large and complex projects?
Yeah. So I think that's always a bit of a challenge, right? Because everyone thinks a bit differently, and they see, and everyone has another vision of what they asking, right? I was reading a kind of interesting books, and everyone, if you say a word, or if you say you want the requirements, everyone kind of has a picture in their head of what they want, and you have three people, and one sees a triangle, the other one sees a square, and the other one sees a circle, right? So I think there are a few techniques that I use a lot in making sure that people get a bit aligned. So definitely, if I cannot put together a prototype, I definitely would have a diagram just to illustrate a bit the concept. So visuals, right? Using a lot of visuals. English is not my first language, so look, I sometimes don't get the nuances between, it's pretty difficult sometimes when you have people coming from different backgrounds, everyone uses different, the words mean something else to people, right? So I'm trying to use a lot of visuals, so like I said, diagrams, but then very quickly I always have a prototype environment on every single client that I have. I would recommend have a prototype environment where I can quickly just, it's not even dev work. It's really prototyping work just to illustrate the concept. I would spin an app very quickly. Just, I don't care about the naming convention, whatever. It's just to kind of help them think through some of the processes. So I would use a lot of model-driven as it's my forte, in a sense, where I feel the most comfortable quickly mocking up something there, right? I use a lot of so I use Figma as well, so it's a diagramming tool. It's a little bit difficult to kind of get started with it, but I actually forced myself a few years ago. I forced myself to learn the tool because I don't know, a few people around in my network were saying how good that tool is for prototyping, and you can add animation, or kind of you can have, and I use it a lot for portal work, actually. So I would design screens of the portal, and you can have kind of animation between screens. So I don't have to build that in Portal. I just quickly do it in Figma. Now that I know the tool a bit better, I can quickly do it in Figma. And again, brainstorm, illustrate the thinking, making sure again that we understand each other, because someone says, I want a specific form with specific fields. Again, everyone can understand that differently. Do we need, a subgrid with additional tables? What do you mean, right? So having a visual and walking through the stakeholders through a visual help clarify the thinking. They will then say to you, "Oh, that's not what I meant," or "I meant something this," and the one will throw another idea, right? So it's also sometimes just making sure they understand each other, right? So that's very often the case, where they don't really agree fundamentally on what they want or what they need, right? So yeah.
As funny enough, me and John were talking about this book just before you came online, actually, called Getting Naked, and something that I've learned from that book. Have you read that before?
Yes, I read it a few times.
It's really good, isn't it? I mean, I think I'm on my second read. I think John's on his seventh read, and he's now bought it physically as well. But something I've learned from that is to not be afraid to ask dumb questions. So when that requirement, you mentioned about stakeholders not always agreeing on the requirement, or they have a different idea of what that requirement is. One's a square, one's a circle, one's a triangle, right? And just asking the dumb questions that you kind of know the answer is going to be obvious, and in some ways you may even look stupid asking it, but actually getting that clarification, having them actually articulate that clarification could like really help to drill down that requirement further, can't it?
And also
Absolutely.
you're kind of taking one for the client there, because
Yeah,
the
yeah,
client might feel like they need to confirm that assumption, whereas if you're asking it, it puts your rapport level on a completely different kind of level, because you're taking that hit for them and they
yeah,
realize that. So yeah,
yeah, yeah.
powerful stuff, that.
I always do it with abbreviations, and I think my customers get annoyed with me because the minute they say something like IPA or EBITDA, I'm like, what does that mean?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And
Because
it's true, right? Because,
I don't do your job like for the past
Yeah,
5 years. I don't know what that stands for,
yeah,
what that entails.
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
And maybe you're right. Maybe even some people in the room might not know what that means, right? But they
Hundred
have been in the
percent.
business for 2 years. They are ashamed even to ask that
Yeah,
question, right?
it's
So,
that meme, isn't it? The Chris Pratt one from Parks and Recreation, where he says, "I don't know what this means, and at this point, I'm too afraid to ask."
yeah, yeah, that's it. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. And often I always actually say to my clients, when I remember, but I would probably, it's one of the thing I say at the beginning is there is no dumb question. Like you said, there is no dumb question, right? Because I'm
yeah.
saying I'm coming from a different background. I've seen different things than you. I haven't been in your company. So please ask whatever question. Don't be afraid. So I'm actually saying that to them too, so that they don't feel ashamed to ask questions. But again, probably, as you said, some people might feel a little bit, maybe a bit, anxious or nervous to ask some questions. So yeah, definitely asking them questions. That's one. But I love the book, by the way. Oh, the whole thing. I try to read it every one or every second year. It's incredible how
Yeah,
much
it's
things
so
that
good.
it's refreshed my memory again.
Yeah, yeah, it's such a good book. Yeah,
Yeah,
I just
yeah,
love the way that it's all done in a story rather than
yeah,
yeah.
in
yeah,
chapters of
yeah,
like do this, do this, do this, and like this is how it's
yeah,
broken down. It's
And he,
actually just a story, right? And
and the
yeah,
guy's journey from, he's completely on one side of the fence
yeah,
with one mentality, and then he transitions right the way through to the other. Yeah,
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 it's pretty powerful stuff.
yeah,
yeah, yeah. And how he ended the danger, that's amazing.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah.
difficult thing to master though, but yeah, that's pretty awesome.
So, Danny, what's been the most surprising thing you've learned about user adoption and training throughout your career?
Yeah, it is often, I mean, it is so underestimated still, I think, by clients, unfortunately, right? Especially for new clients, I feel there is still, I mean, I don't know how it is now in England and in Europe, but I still deal here in Australia with clients where I feel this is not kind of it's not their center focus. I would say
Hmm.
next to the implementation, training and adoption is probably as important as the time you spend implementing it.
yeah,
I
Hmm.
would even say sometimes even more, right?
yeah. There's
The
no point
client,
building something if no one's going to use it.
Exactly.
yeah, and the training as well. Like I'm sometimes surprised where they have a budget for the whole implementation, but then they have like 10% dedicated for the training
Yeah,
and maintaining and the adoption and when you say you say that to them, but still they kind of it doesn't sink in until we reach that stage where we are UAT go live and then they see how the user are struggling, right?
yeah.
And then they have to dedicate more time, they have to dedicate more resources, right? So
Do you think?
yeah,
Sorry, Danny, just to interrupt there. Is it?
yeah, yeah.
Do you think the Microsoft stack, and by that I mean Dynamics and Power Platform specifically in this context, do you think they're a little bit of a victim of their own success, i.e., they are meant to be very easy to use, and so there is a preconception in the client's mind that user training and adoption might not necessarily be necessary because of.
Good question. Maybe that's how the
Hmm.
low code quick implementation map. Maybe that's what resonates a bit with the client, and they think, well, it's probably something very easy to use, and it is. Well, look, it is pretty straightforward to use. But when you move from Excel sheet and Outlook and a pretty kind of manual way of working into a platform like a complex model driven app or Dynamics 365, like all those screens like it's a lot of different changes. Like it's very different, and it just requires time. It's not even.
Yeah.
It requires time for people to adopt that, right? So sometimes I see clients just rushing, like, yeah, let's do the implementation. So they rush for 3 months, and then 2 weeks of UAT training and go live. Like that's not enough for the users
No.
to get their hands on, to test. Like we need more time for kind of their onboarding, testing the product, coming back with feedback, rethinking the way they work. Maybe a soft go live first or a piloted go live first. It takes a few months to get adjusted.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of clients, unfortunately, experience that. I mean, they are forced basically, and it could have been a bit smoother if. Often they don't make the same mistake for the future phases though. So sometimes they kind of learn the hard way, and then
Yeah.
for the future, for another implementation of the same product, or maybe they have other teams kind of joining in, they have took on board the lessons learned and it goes smoother, right? So
And I
yeah,
think also there's sometimes when these projects are being drafted, let's say, the people who are the decision makers in the organization who want to bring in Dynamics, or they want to bring in Power Platform, and they're coming to that decision partly because of the sales team who are working alongside them, but also because of their own experiences. So
yeah,
quite a common scenario I see is that a CFO comes into an organization and then say it wants a particular system built because that's what they did at their last organization. And it's quite common with like operating officers as well to sort of like they come in and they want to like bring that change with them. Now they already understand the system because they already went through it once before. So maybe their perception of how much training is required is lessened because they already know how to use it. So they assume that budget for training would be less than maybe it should be. So I wonder if that comes into play as well. In that, like, if
yeah,
you have
maybe.
experience with something, you would perceive it as not needing as much training as you might think.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe I think also there is, like often with those big implementation, there is a bit of a change in the way of working and the internal processes, right?
Yeah.
And that's not thought enough. Like the business often doesn't invest enough time to get help. Like they need help from, not from us, from the but if they need help from like a good BA or a good product owner, someone that can help organization transition, I guess, just to get their thinking straight, right? So
Yeah.
document the business processes and kind of document the future processes as well. How would that look like in a digital platform, right?
Yeah.
And if that would have been done in parallel than of the implementation or just before, I think the implementation would have been smoother as well with the people.
Yeah.
Often we kind of force a new process into them, and then they don't even have the time to think that through. Like they forced by that new way of working using the platform, right? So
That and
yeah, it's really
humans are just
interesting.
allergic to change anyway.
Yeah, that's it, right? A lot of people don't like change. Like that's nature, right?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, yeah. Some people are also a bit afraid, I think, that they would lose their job, and it's still happening. Like it's still in the back of the minds of some people, right?
So, Danny, can you describe the key roles and responsibilities of business analysts, and how they can ensure project success? Because I think you don't see a lot of business analysts. Well, I haven't seen a lot of business analysts on the projects that I've worked on, bar maybe a couple. And I think it's a bit of a understated role, and I think they're very important, especially in larger projects.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, right? So I think unfortunately a lot of the clients with whom I've worked don't spend enough time and effort to recruit the right people. They have someone available, and it's often like, I don't know why, but it's that conception that they have someone available that they can put together an Excel sheet and kind of have a way of discussing, and that's a business analyst, right? And sometimes we had those situations where, you know, that's not what's required. What you really need, right, from and tying up to what a good BA could bring to the table is someone that can really document, you know, business processes, model how a new business process would look like, excellent in communication skills, because effectively the BA should be, in my opinion, the best person to translate like business needs. And I'm not even saying business requirements, business needs. They need to understand what are the needs of the business and not blindly follow what the business says, and translate that into kind of ideas we can understand. Otherwise, we have to do the work. And often we doing, often I'm trying, because there is no BA or the BA is not experienced enough, I have to step into those shoes and try to really understand what the business is and so forth. So I think it's important as part of a solution architect as well to have a bit of that skill set. But once you have a good BA that can actually do that, it's such a pleasure. I found that everything kind of rolls out easier. I've seen the difference where, you know, we had, you know, BA that were not skilled enough on projects, and then suddenly a BA comes in, very experienced BA, and kind of the whole kind of atmosphere on the project, the whole way of working on the project kind of changes, where that person is able to really, you know, challenge the business, ask the right question, can understand complexities in some of the business requirements. So sometimes the business will ask, like, not crazy things, but a bit like non-realistic things, or sometimes it doesn't make sense. And a lot of BA will just translate that and pass on to me, right? And I have to go through this, and it just doesn't make sense. Like, why would you ask even this? Like, think about this twice. Then I have to challenge the business, and then there is that discussion between, especially at the beginning when you don't know that well the clients, where the clients kind of doubt a bit, why are you even asking this? Is it because maybe the platform cannot do that, or because you don't want to, you're lazy, you don't want to implement that? But if you have someone in the middle, like, they will listen to that person more. And I work with some of those BA that could really challenge the business and propose ways of working and describe that back to us. And it was just such a difference, right?
Do you think where does the role of the business analyst land? Is it on the client side, or is it on the partner doing the implementation side, or is it both? I think it's both.
Yeah, I find it most beneficial when it's on the client side, because I kind of have the feel that then the BA can really challenge the client a bit more, and they will listen to the BA more without, you know, whether it's the vendor client kind of relationship, right? The business might sometimes ask questions. Well, why do you even ask that? What's the reason behind it? Because you don't want to do it. Maybe the platform has limitation, like I was saying before. If the BA is challenging them, they know that there is nothing going on like that. He's challenging them, or they are challenging the business for their good. So so I would, but if not, then we can, I mean, then we would propose a good BA if the client cannot find someone. But I would still recommend the client to themselves to have a good BA that can work independent of us, directly with the business, help the PO, because often the product owner is assigned and they don't have enough time. It's the first time they are a product owner. So a good BA can really help, like, the product owner make the right decisions as well, right? It's almost like is the proxy of the product owner, helping the product owner make the right decision, helping the product owner kind of, you know, find the right answers for us. So it's definitely a key role I see, especially those big projects.
Yeah. And I think John's done a few sessions before on building rapport as well. And I think, you know, if the BA is on the partner side, that rapport becomes so much more important, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
So, Danny, I think a lot of people do understand Agile, but for those that maybe aren't up to speed with it, Danny actually runs a fantastic course on learning the Agile methodology. But what are the pitfalls of the methodology? Are there any traps that you can fall into when you're using it in a project?
Yeah. Look, I guess what I focus especially on my course is those topics around managing requirements, shared understanding of, of what do we want to implement as part of the Agile methodology. I guess one of the pitfalls, from Agile is, especially on those larger projects, is that Agile, I see, recommends that you get very quickly into working software. Well, I see really in reality is you still need a few months, I guess, for that first piece without, like, there is an MVP. Like, the MVP will not be ready, especially in those larger, more complex projects. The MVP will not be ready in one sprint. Like, you see what I mean? Like, the MVP is a few sprints before you can really have something that is valuable enough for the business to start using. And then we can go into that real Agile rhythm where every 2 weeks or every iteration you can add in improvement and so forth. But until we reach the MVP, and I don't see this described very often in kind of the typical Agile methodologies, where it is assuming, from what I understand or from what I read, that after a sprint or two, you already have working software and people can start using, right? That term MVP is not, I guess, articulated enough, I think, in the Agile methodology.
Yeah.
Because, you also want to make the right decision in terms of design. Like, we say the Power Platform, you can quickly make adjustment, but there are some design fundamentals that you want to get right. Like, once you go with something, like, you stuck with it.
And I guess sometimes Agile gives off the wrong set of expectations in some ways, and I guess the Power Platform and Dynamics do to an extent where it's low code, so it's perceived as being really easy and quick to implement. And sometimes in some scenarios you can do something quickly, but
especially for those complex ones, right? Like when you have a portal with it as well, like it starts to be
that's not going to be one
model.
sprint. One sprint of a year maybe, but
the security model you put in place, like it all matters. After that, you pay for it.
And you're so right, Danny, about having something that's demonstratable to the client within one sprint on a complex project. It's just never going to happen. I mean, even on smaller projects, I don't think it's worth having a sprint demo at the end of it, because I'm on a project at the moment, and there's items in sprint 2 that I know are fundamental to sprint 1. And I'm okay, I'll demo it, but it's not going to be as valuable as it will be at the end of sprint 2.
It's interesting. A project I'm working on at the moment, we literally at the very start said to the SMEs, sprint 4 is going to get interesting.
Absolutely. There is a few fundamentals. I guess what I try to do though is I would use that prototype environment to just maybe showcase some, and it's not really demo of the real software, but it's as I go through my requirements, or as I go to, I guess, even the development cycle, right? If I have something that I can demo to the stakeholders, I wouldn't wait too long either. But for them to start playing with the tool and so forth and really and that's where it's becoming interesting, right? Is you want to demo something, but then you want to invite them to also log in and start playing. And that takes a bit longer, because everything is kind of moving, right? Like there's so many things moving all over that even if they log in, like in 2 weeks' time, it will be different. So it doesn't, it might confuse them more than anything else, right?
So, sorry, Mike, go.
And again, that setting expectations is really important there, isn't it? Because you're letting them play with a very, very unfinished product that's probably not even at MVP status yet, right? So they need to have that mentality going into any sort of like testing or playing about that they may do with what you've built. Is that you have to be so clear that it's not finished, it's not final, and that actually they need to give feedback on it, right? Because sometimes you can present something like that to them and they go, oh my God, this looks horrible. And that could be the end of it, right?
Yeah. Well, it also depends with who you work, right? So I'm working with, I probably same as you, right? You work with different kind of clients with different, level of maturity in adopting those technologies, and sometimes I work with amazing people as well that really kind of can understand that
Yeah,
methodology and understand that ideology, and they actually want to go and play with things even if it's unfinished. And
yeah,
I found this actually the best project I had lately. A project, I mean, lately, it was a few months ago, where the product owner from the very beginning, she was always responsible from all the reporting side of things. Already kind of understanding data mapping and data modeling. And so she always wanted to kind of take a look, jump into the system, see how that works. And it was a great success. Because of
yeah.
that, she could straight away give us the feedback, the look and feel, how does the navigation work, the process work. So
And it
yeah,
drives adoption, right? It drives adoption inside
of
that
course.
client. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, of
amazing. Yeah,
course, of course. They
yeah,
did underestimate it a bit UAT for the first implementation though, because it was the first project for her to implement Dynamics, so they didn't spend enough time showing it to other people. But then they learned very fast during that first implementation. It was a little bit up and down that
yeah,
first UAT session, but then they had another that was actually a smaller implementation. Then they had a bigger implementation for a bigger team, and then they spent like 2 months, I think, preparing UAT, adoption, training,
yeah.
and so forth. And that went super well. Like
Yeah,
later
I'm
they
on
did,
a
yeah.
similar kind of portfolio of projects where I'm kind of the repeat consultant really with them, and have a really good relationship with this client. And yeah, we did exactly the same thing. The first thing that we did was good, but we didn't get the right people doing the UAT.
Yeah.
And so we're kind of reworking that. But all the projects since then have ensured that right from the beginning, the people who are on the ground who are going to be using that, there's a couple of key people that are part of the project team right from inception to
Yeah.
through build and into delivery. So yeah, that's really important, that one.
Yeah, absolutely.
I like how you've changed your name. Oh, you put did Mike do that? Put your name Agile Guard
Oh,
on that.
I am playing about with the new Riverside
Nice,
features. Sorry.
nice.
Didn't even notice that.
Danny, I don't know if you've listened to the podcast before, but we have this section called Uncomfortable Corner.
Right, okay.
And I was reliably informed yesterday that apparently that's me saying uncomfortable corner with a really bad cold, and that's Mike screaming. So
Unfortunately, it isn't actually me screaming, but I might rework it and do a scream, but I need to make sure no one's about because I don't want the police to turn up or anything.
Danny, when was the last time or a time in your past where you felt uncomfortable? And it could be like inside work or outside of work. And could you kind of go through like how you felt, how you dealt with it, and maybe what you learned for the next time if it happens again?
Yeah. Look, I think I put myself into uncomfortable situation often by design, almost, I would say. It didn't happen naturally, but I think over time I learned that from those uncomfortable situations, I kind of I grow a lot and I learned a lot. So just to give you like sincerely think that I put myself very often into uncomfortable situation, right? Even the project I'm in right now, like from a work, I'll give you an example from a work perspective and then from a personal perspective. From a work perspective, the project I took on board, I knew from the very beginning that it would be a very, very difficult project. Like everything is lining up to be a failure. Everything. Like the client was delayed by a few months to start, very high level requirements. Like and I could have said no. Like we could have easily said no. It's not like we're lacking of work as well. It's just I don't know. Like I was in those very difficult projects in the past, and it's always when you put yourself into uncomfortable situation, very challenging situation, sometimes stressful situation, that if you don't break, then you learn the most.
Yeah,
So I kind of said to myself, let's give it a try. Like worst case, I'll do a few. I'll do more time outside of the billable time, and I'll just make it work because I just want to go through that experience again, and because I learned so much from. So I think I'm trying, like, unconscious and by design, I think myself to put myself sometimes into those uncomfortable situations. We have those uncomfortable situations with the client. I mean, now it's a bit better. We are towards the end of the project. It's a little bit smoother now, but the beginning was very, very uncomfortable, like very difficult
Yeah.
conversation. We couldn't understand each other, like unfortunately a bit immature in the approaches. And some people were more mature than others, but I had a few very difficult discussions with the business, right? So so and I kind of knew it. So that's from
Yeah.
work. Personally, so look, just an example, right? So a few years ago, I started training martial arts, karate, which was something, I guess, a little bit outside of my comfort zone when I subscribed. But I subscribed, and very quickly, again, I put myself into the situation where I subscribed to a tournament, where I had to fight other people. And again, like I felt horrible. I think very stressed out when I went, because the first time you entered the ring and you face, and I think I was just an orange belt, like at that time. Like I think I had the black belt in front of me. To be fair, the first fight was you scared, right? You really uncomfortable. Like it's not where you want to be. So a few of these. Then lately, like 2 weeks ago, I subscribed to be a judge. I was one of the martial arts competition, and again, completely new. A judge, like you have to make the decisions. Like people are sometimes screaming, the moms, the supporters, all facing you, and if you make the wrong call, they kind of look at you weird, or they will even come and kind of challenge you. So I was very uncomfortable again, stepping to that role. I was even to be fair. So I had to be the referee. So it's 3 referees. And then I was a bit shaking there the first like 1 or 2 hours, just trying to do the best I could. And so again, right, I knew it would be a bit of a challenge. I knew it would be new for me, but I try to put myself, I guess, in those positions because I feel like I learned quite a lot out of these, and I don't know.
And I love how you put that as well, because that, in fact, to keep me honest here, John, the whole reason we came up with Uncomfortable Corner in the first place was exactly for that reason, right? It was
Yeah,
about getting comfortable being uncomfortable
yeah.
and learning and developing through getting yourself into uncomfortable situations. So it's like absolutely bang on the money what you've said.
And also, there's a
Thank you.
from a mental health perspective, and it just because I can see the synergy. Um, um, when I've talked about like anxiety and things before, um, there's a theory that your body, if you tell your body to fight the anxiety and to not let it kind of go through you, your brain is not available, not able to cope with that type of anxiety again, and you will experience it the same. So you kind of have to just let it go through you. Let the moment pass, but so your
Yeah.
brain understands the reaction to that. And I
Yeah,
think
you're
this is
right.
similar. So you feel uncomfortable and you think, right, okay, well, I've felt uncomfortable on that project, and this and this and this happened. I'm probably going to feel like that again on this project, but I've been through it already, and I kind of am kind of prepared to go through it again.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for that. Yeah, actually, it's good. Yeah, it's probably a good explanation. Like, I don't know what it is, but it is like if it's not breaking you, it's making me feel richer in some way and more. I appreciate things more. Like, oh, I've been through this now, so I know how it is. It's exactly as you said, right? I kind of value myself maybe a bit more personally because I've been through this, and I'm a little bit proud then that I've been through this. I don't know.
I guess
Yeah,
you feel like you have experience, don't you, when you've gone through something that's difficult or something that's gone wrong, right? And
yeah, correct.
it's a wound and a scar that you've got that you can refer back to.
Yeah, 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 probably. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Nice. Well, Dani, I think we've kind of come to the end of our conversation. I really, really appreciate everything that you do for, the community, as well as, your agile methodology training. Like I said, and we mentioned it a few times, it will definitely be in the show notes, because I would say anyone who is working in the Power Platform or Dynamics in an agile methodology way, this is a very good course to undertake. And I think it actually should be borderline mandatory, I think, along with a couple of other courses that we've recently done. So thank you very much, Dani. You can find Dani on LinkedIn and on his website, danikahil.com. Links to resources mentioned in the episode will be in the show notes. Music today was provided by Ken Like Fit. You can find his music on Spotify, the link to which you can find in this episode's show notes as well. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss the next episode, and we'd really appreciate it if you could give us a follow on LinkedIn. And if you're enjoying the podcast, please give us a review on your chosen podcast platform. Thank you. This has been Sprint Zero. We've been Mike Gowland. Say goodbye, Mike.
That's weird. I was on mute and I whispered. Let's just say goodbye, Mike.
Dani, say goodbye, Dani.
Bye.
My kids. And I'm John Russell, and we will see you on the next episode of Sprint Zero. Thank you very much. Love you, Dani. Cheers, man.
Love you, Dani. Love you, John.
Love you too. See you later.
I'm Sean. I run the Architects Accelerator. It's an 8-week training program to help you become a solutions architect. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you how awesome it is. We're just going to hear from previous participants.
My name's Mike Colling.
My name is Sander.
Hi, I'm Danielle.
Hi, I'm Luke.
Hi, I'm Callum. I work as a senior functional consultant.
I signed up for this because it sounded something that I hadn't seen anywhere else.
And that's what I liked about this course, is that we were focusing about taking the right requirement and proposing to the customer the right solution.
It's showing how to use the whole platform and how to build better solutions that could last a long time.
I don't have a background in software. And given that it's changing so fast every single day, I needed a guided way of learning. If the solution architect is the direction I want to go, I have taken something from every day of those classes and have applied them to my work.
Found it really useful and I really enjoyed it.
Use promo code SPRINT0 to get $50 off.